Hey everyone, I'm Army Gaming. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to Monster Legends. Welcome to a monster analysis on Nisael. Hopefully this video can help you and your team figure out whether or not you should even try going for this monster, and specifically to what rank you should try getting this monster. This monster is going to be available in the next marathon event, which is coming up really soon. So hopefully once again this video will help you. And for those of you that don't know, this is the Nemesis monster, Samael's little brother, so he has a lot to live up to. Samael was essentially a game changer, a meta game changing monster. Will Nisael be the same? Let's find out. He is the Dark Forsaken monster. So you all know Forsaken monsters, right? They are incredibly tough to get ranked up because, well, you can't rank them up unless you purchase their cells, at least at the time recording this video. The thing about the race is that you can potentially get this monster up to rank 4 if you do enough laps, you and your team do enough laps. It is incredibly hard, but again, we're going to see whether this monster is worth it. So without further ado, let's jump right into the analysis. This monster boasts an incredible life of 40,112. In the dark category specifically, it is the third highest life stat. There are only 2 monsters that have a higher life stat than him. Dunraw, who has a life stat of 46,000, and Soul Hugger that has a life stat of 44,000. But in the dark category, Nisael is officially the 3rd tankiest monster, which is surprising considering how small and skinny and scrawny he looks. Next up is his power, 3267. Terrible power stat, it's on the low end, tied with like Legion. Does anyone even know who Legion is? Very low power stat, however it doesn't matter. What this monster has, and it's a really good thing, he has a lot of skills that take away a percentage of an enemy's HP. For example, if you look at Ragnarok's Death Door, minus 75% of HP from the enemy monster, Nisael has a lot of percentage-based attacks, so that's phenomenal. But then what's really incredible about this monster is his speed stat. Alright, so I already said he's super tanky. His speed stat, he's also super fast. 3542, that is insanely fast. In the dark category, there's only one monster that's faster than Nisael, and that would be Countess Flawless with a speed stat of 3575. Next up is Nisael, tied with War Spells, Losty Ghost, and Jabuline. So officially the 2nd fastest dark monster, tied with a couple other ones who really don't matter too much if anyone War Spells, but even then this monster is going to be on a whole different level. And just to give some context to compare to some other to compare to some other monsters in Monster Legends, Warmaster Thalassa has this speed. So he is as fast as one of the most meta monsters, the most meta monster in the game, Warmaster Thalassa. Alright, so with that being said, let's talk about the trait, cause stats, very good. This monster, like many monsters nowadays, has an evolving trait. So when you get this monster at rank 0, you have the tough trait, 35% chance to not get hit with negative effects. At rank 1, you get Bulwark. Now what I'm not entirely sure of is if you get Bulwark on top of the tough, which I think is the case, or if the tough transform into Bulwark. Because if it's tough plus Bulwark, the chances of negative effects landing against you is going to be insanely low, and I'm assuming that's going to be the case. At rank 3, you get Anticipation. And Anticipation is honestly one of the best traits you can have. Like, the fact that a monster has Anticipation, that automatically makes it so the enemy cannot even risk utilizing extra turn skills, right? That's the reason Voltig, Xyla, Charmless, they're never used anymore. Like, those monsters are super powerful if there's no Anticipation. The minute you throw a monster on defense with Anticipation, you cannot risk using those monsters. So, fantastic trait there. And at rank 4, you get a Status Caster, an area cooldown protection, meaning if you face the likes of, let's talk about, for example, Warmaster Charizard, who can activate cooldowns, thanks to your cooldown protection, your monsters can't get hit with that, right? Now, of course, Warmaster Charizard can also activate control skills. Hopefully your tough Bulwark helps you out specifically. If Warmaster Charizard tried to do Great Dispel to clear your area cooldown protection, well, your Anticipation would kick in, you would get an extra turn that would allow you to react. So, trait-wise, it's pretty good, especially if that tough and Bulwark does connect to make it very less likely for a negative effect to land on you. And then to make this monster even more deadly, more powerful, the Relics, of course I was expecting this, he can hold the Essence, he can hold the Revival Essence. So unlike Sammy, where if Sammy dies he has no way of bringing himself back to life, Nisael can hold the Revival Essence, Uriel's Essence, so even if you kill this monster, he is back, he's back with the tough, the Bulwark, Anticipation, if you manage to have this monster at least at rank 3. And he can also hold the Amulet. I mean, you have access to so many powerful amulets that can help protect them, right? Sammy can also hold the amulet, so really good relic slots for a monster of this caliber, for a monster that's more supportive based really, that can deal damage in terms of percentage based attacks. In terms of books, he's going to be in Spirits, Undead, and Villains. Alright, so we're going to talk about this monster, unranked, and then his skills group 4 skills as well. So once again, you can kind of gauge what you should get this monster. But I mean, just looking at traits, I would say you want this monster at least rank 3 for him to be competitive, right? I think you can kind of do without the area cooldown protection, but you definitely need him with anticipation for him to be fully competitive. Well, I mean not fully competitive, but pretty darn competitive. Alright, but let's move on. Tier 1, Touch of the Heteric. Deals moderate special damage to one enemy, 30 damage, 0 turn cooldown, honestly not even worth mentioning. False Gods, removes positive effects from one enemy, deals moderate direct damage. The cool thing about this skill is that it is spammable because it has no cooldown, so even if you do get hit with the cooldown activated, you can use this skill as many times as you want. It also costs no stamina, so even if you have your stamina drain, you can always target enemy monster and remove its positive effects. It's pretty cool. Fatal Fate is the next skill. This one deals moderate dark damage, and the enemy will die after 3 turns. It activates Death Countdown, also 0 cooldown and spammable because no stamina cost. I don't think this skill is really that great considering so many monsters can cleanse. Even if you were to activate Death Countdown on a monster, they would probably clear it in a turn or 2. So not that great. The one I do like from here is False Gods, but let's keep going. In tier 2 skills we have Pain Outbreak, removes positive effects from one enemy, removes positive effects from all enemies, applies guard down to all enemies, removes 20% of total life from all enemies, requires cooldown. Wow, this skill does a lot. Alright, it has a 1 turn cooldown, 31 stamina cost. Removes positive effects from one enemy, and then from all enemies. This is really good for 2 reasons. The first reason it's good, it's a counter to any type of monster that has positive effects blocked, right? If a monster has positive effects blocked, and you target that monster, you're going to be able to get rid of the positive effects block and whatever positive effects it has. Also, if you're facing a Megataunt monster like a Dunraw that starts the game off with Megataunt, well, you can clear the Megataunts, and then the secondary positive effect clearing will clear the positive effects from the whole enemy team. So for example, if you face a Dunraw that has, and you're also facing Ragnarök, and Ragnarök activated Skill Mirror, and then Dunraw has Megataunt Skill Mirror, and then the other ally has the Skill Mirror, when you do Pain Outbreak, you will remove Megataunt and Skill Mirror from Dunraw, and then you will remove the Skill Mirror from the allies, from Ragnarök and whatever third monster it is, and then you apply Guard Down. For those of you that aren't aware, Guard Down makes it so your attacks always land. It is like having increased accuracy times 10. Your attacks will always land, and then you remove 20% of total life from all enemies, so all of the enemy monsters, they lose 20% of their total HP. Now, one thing I will say about this skill, considering a recent Megataunt monster got released, Santirion, another Forsaken monster, if you face a rank 1 Santirion, Santirion has a permanent Megataunt, meaning you can't remove it, right? It's not a status caster Megataunt like the other Megataunt monsters, it is a trait. The cool thing about a skill like Pain Outbreak is that when you do Pain Outbreak against a Santirion, the 20% of total life, because Santirion will absorb it, he'll take 60% of total life. So it is a very quick, fast, easy way to kill a Megataunt monster like Santirion, right? Because you're not removing anything if you're facing a rank 1. If you're facing an unranked, then it's just a regular thing. You're removing the status caster Megataunt and then you're attacking everyone. So just wanted to throw that out there because I think this monster can work as a way to kill Santirion for those of you that are struggling. And this is an unranked Nisael. Next up we have Disease Dissemination. Deals moderate direct damage to all enemies. Applies daze to all enemies. All enemies will die after 3 turns. So this one has no cooldown, and it costs 25 stamina. So 30 dark base damage to all enemy monsters and daze. I don't think it's that incredible. It also does Death Countdown. Again, my thoughts on Death Countdown doesn't really matter considering it can be cleansed unless you have a lot of monsters that can deny, activate cooldowns on the enemy, stun, freeze, and whatnot. Next up we have Infect Plague. Removes 30% of total life from one enemy, applies Stamina Leak to one enemy, applies daze to one enemy. This skill has no cooldown and a 22 stamina cost. 30% total life and Stamina Leak and daze. I don't think it's that significant, but again, this monster is not a damage dealer, or he has a low power, so he does rely on that percent base damage, but you have better skills in tier 3. So moving on to tier 3, we have Purger Army. Removes all negative effects from allies, applies Ward Down Hater, which I'm assuming is Guard Down Hater, which will synergize with the Guard Down from Pain Outbreak. So removes all negative effects from allies, applies Guard Down Hater, and applies Precision to all allies, requires cooldown. I love any type of monster, any support monster that has a cleansing skill. You absolutely need it in the current meta, right? You face a Wormlad, and automatically you're hit with a Sunburn and a Curse. You could also be hit with a total damage reduction and positive effects block and whatnot. Like there's so many, nowadays so many monsters do so much against you. So you absolutely need a skill that can cleanse. And I love it when a monster takes it a step further and gives you so much more. In this case, you get increased accuracy so your attacks are not missing, and you also get Guard Down Hater, which synergizes with the Guard Down from Pain Outbreak. Fantastic, definitely worth running. Next up we have Half Death. Removes 50% of total life from an enemy, removes 50% of stamina from an enemy, requires cooldown. So I love that this has a 1 turn cooldown only, and a 39 stamina cost. And like I said, this is probably a lot better, no, definitely a lot better than Infect Plague, because Infect Plague is 30% of total life and stamina leak, whereas this is 30% of total life and an immediate stamina drain. So way better, and that's half of the monster's HP. Now, really nowadays when enemies have shields and armors and whatnot, you're probably not going to be able to do this skill twice and then kill an enemy monster, because as soon as the relic activates and they get some sort of armor, you're not going to be able to OTK them. Not really OTK, but using this skill twice won't really kill them. But it's nice to have a 50% total life. Once again, like talking about Santarion, if you do manage to maybe remove 60% of his total life with Pain Outbreak, and then half death, maybe you could potentially kill him. So just some things to think about. Next up, we have Necromantic Army, which resurrects allies with 50% life, applies damage boost to our allies, and applies evasion to our allies. So I think at first look you may be thinking like, whoa, this is incredible. And to an extent it really is, right? If both of your teammates are dead, you literally resurrect both of them, they have 50% of their life, and they have a damage boost, and they have an evasion, right? It's like, move over, what's your face, Fatid, who resurrects monsters but they die in one turn. Nope, your monsters are back with a damage boost and evasion. It is pretty incredible. However, I don't know how often you would use it. Like in my personal opinion, I would probably prefer Ragnarok's Resurrection. You know, it brings a monster with double damage and an immediate extra turn. Wormlad's Resurrection brings back one monster with evasion, protect positive effects, and some other positive effects. Even Necromancer's Resurrection brings back a monster, gives immediate extra turn. I think I would prefer that in the team revival. I think a lot of times though, just because the enemy knows that you may have this skill, this monster becomes an immediate threat and they're going to want to take out your Nisael, which is good because then your allies, they're not going to be the targets of single target attacks. So it also is good, and if they don't manage to kill your Nisael and you manage to do this skill, they are going to be in trouble, right? Because if you do res, phenomenal. And another reason I like this skill a lot is I'm thinking about the synergy with a monster like Neobuki, right? Neobuki, you can run with 3 strength runes. If Neobuki with 3 strength runes is a huge threat, so the enemy goes and kills your Neobuki, you can literally resurrect Neobuki. Neobuki will come back with a damage boost and evasion, and the enemy is going to have no way of removing that thanks to your trait. So some good synergy there. Always having another resurrect monster is always awesome. If you can get this monster unranked, just having the capability to res is going to be awesome. And another cool thing is like, one reason I do really like this, combined with the fact that you can the revival essence, if the enemy, let's say you're facing a Fatid, right? Let's say you're facing a Hukuai. If you encounter a Hukuai that has like 3 level 10 strength runes, and let's say Hukuai OTKs you, completely obliterates you with an AoE skill, wipes out your whole team, Nisael gets resurrected with Revival Essence, it's your turn, Necromantic Army, your allies are back from the dead, just like that. You know how amazing that is? And let's say they kill your Nisael, and one of the allies you resurrected, that now has evasion, now gets a turn, and also has a revival skill, come back Nisael, and it's like a never endless reviving undead army. It's insane. So I think combined specifically because this monster has the essence, the revival essence, because he can hold it, and because this is an unranked skill, I think that could work out wonderfully. So definitely amazing, right? If you can only get this monster unranked and you have revival essence, you're gonna have some fun with this monster. You're gonna be able to take on some tough bases. Whether or not you can beat those tough bases, that's a whole different story. But with the revival essence and this skill, you're definitely gonna be able to take on some tough bases where you don't really have to worry about being OTK'd by the enemy team, because you know you can bring back your team and react. So I definitely do like that a lot. Alright, now let's talk about some other skills he has if you manage to rank this monster up. So at rank 1, you will get Plague Spreader, which removes 30% of total life from all enemies, applies Stamina Leak to all enemies, and applies Daze to all enemies. 0 damage, 2 turn cooldown, 31 stamina cost, 30% total life from all enemies. Once again, in the context of facing Santarion rank 1, who has the Megatons as a trait, that'll be a 90% of total life from Santarion. So then just use your 50%, you're half death, and that Santarion is going to die. So that is awesome. And of course, if you're just facing a regular, and this is not even Santarion, any Megaton monster, Dunraw, Mephisto, Clipium, if he activates it, any Megaton monster, bam, 90% of total life, then your other monster can go in for the kill. So definitely really good. On top of that, Stamina Leak and Daze, no complaints from me there. You'll also have your Boleric trait at rank 1. Next up, if you get this monster at rank 2, Necropotence removes 30% of stamina from an enemy, removes positive effects from all enemies, applies Stamina Leak to all enemies will die after 3 turns. My personal opinion, this skill's not even that good. Definitely, like, not even that good. So we can skip it. Rank 2, not really worth. Rank 3 though, not only do you get Anticipation, you also get Nisael Army. Removes all negative status effects from all allies, applies stamina regen to all allies, removes positive effects from all allies, from all enemies, sorry, applies days to all enemies, requires cooldown. Okay, let's reread that because that's a lot. 1 turn cooldown, 39 stamina cost. So negative effects from your allies are cleansed, stamina regen to your allies, very nice, removes positive effects from all enemies, very nice, and days, very nice. Incredible support skill, very incredible, I like it a lot. Only has a 1 turn cooldown, so even if you get hit with CDA, hey, in 1 turn if the enemy can't do anything, you're going to be cleansing. So this is probably one of the most powerful skills you have in your arsenal. Nisael Army. With the 1 turn cooldown, I think this is crazy good. Last up we have Nisael Warrior. Similar to Samael Warrior maybe. Resurrects 1 ally. Oh no, it's a resurrection skill. Resurrects 1 ally with 50% life, applies evasion to 1 ally, applies double damage to 1 ally, gives 1 extra turn to an ally. So your revival skill, there we go. Wow. Exactly what I wanted, right? So if I had to pick, like if I absolutely had to pick one revival skill, I'd probably go with Nisael Warrior. I'd prefer it more. Again, that having that ability to resurrect, you get evasion and double damage and extra turn to the ally. So again, just like Ragnarok's revival, just like not Wormlad's revival, his doesn't give an extra turn. Like Necromancer's revival, the only advantage here is that you get that immediate evasion. So the thing is, when you do like Ragnarok or Necromancer and you revive, that monster gets an immediate extra turn. If you're facing a Ragnarok, that Ragnarok on the enemy field gets an extra turn, then they can kill you or something. Well, in this case, you're good to go. You can revive your attacker, you have double damage, you can OTK the enemy monster, maybe the enemy monster team. So that's pretty good. That's awesome. Definitely worth getting to rank 4. I will say though, like, I don't think this monster is overpowered. Just based on the skill set, I don't think he's overpowered. They tried to really capitalize on the death countdown, which I'm not even a fan of. Like, if this monster was like a pump seed and can activate cooldowns and death countdown, it can do possession and death countdown, then I would be scared, for sure. But I'm not too worried, I would say. Like, if you face this monster, I'm not too worried. Probably one of the most scariest skills is that Nisael Army. Like, on a 1 turn cooldown, that's frightening, especially if he's going to have tough Bulwark Anticipation, right? Like, you do an extra turn skill, he has really low cooldown skills, so there's a lot of skills he can use, even if you activate his cooldowns. So that's probably one of the most menacing things. But yeah, overall, like, he has stamina leak, not more stamina drain. So I'm not too frightened of him, but I also recognize his potential, and I really feel that it's Nisael Army that is the most menacing. Again, like his tier 2 skill, not too impressed. Plague Spreader I love, specifically to take down the Megaton monsters because of that 30% total life. If there's no Megaton monster and you do 30% of total life from all enemies, if there's a Megaton monster, they're not going to take the hits. And 30% is really not that much, right? If anything, that single target 50% of total life is better. So, skills-wise, I'm not too, like, impressed. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, right? Uriel's Essence and Necromantic Army, that is a combo I love a lot. But overall, again, I'm not too overly impressed because if you've ever battled a monster that has Uriel's Essence, it's also not that bad of a threat, right? You can see the turn order, you can see when you kill the monster and they'll res, so it's easy enough to kill the monster or apply DOT so that when they res, it's your monster's turn, so that's not even too much of a challenge. So I think from the perspective of bringing this monster for offense, he's going to be phenomenal. In terms of defense, I'm not too convinced. Let's see his ultimate. Nisael Jar removes positive effects from one enemy, removes positive effects from one enemy, so double positive effect removal, 100% chance. Fantastic ultimate! Let me just tell you that. If you have this monster on defense, and he gets an ult, you're losing a monster. Hands down, you're losing a monster. So ultimate is fantastic. Skill sets. If you get this monster rank 4, I see you running Nisael Army, I see you running Nisael Warrior, I see you running Plague Spreader, and I see you running Half Death, but then you probably also want Pain Outbreak. Are you going to be able to do Purge Your Army? Removes negative effects from down. I don't think you're even going to rely on your guard down hater. So Pain Outbreak, I think you're definitely going to be running actually. So let's see, Pain Outbreak, Nisael Army, Nisael Warrior, and Plague Spreader. That's probably what you're going to be running. But then you probably want Half Death. Oh, it's hard choosing 4 skills. So Pain Outbreak is a for sure, I think. Yeah, for sure to remove positive effects. Nisael Army is also good because it cleanses and removes from the enemy. So let me think. Removes from all allies. No, yeah. I would definitely take Nisael Army over Purge Your Army if I had this monster ranked up. Ooh, it's a tough one. It's a tough one with this monster. Removes 30% of total life, stamina leak, and days. See, because even that, the days and stamina leak, it's nothing too significant. And this is, I feel like even Plague Spreader, to be completely honest, this is a skill that you can swap out easily. if there's no Megaton monster you have to worry about. If you're like, oh, there's no Megaton monster, let me put in Half Death. That way you can run Pain Outbreak, Half Death, Nisael Army, Nisael Warrior. So, skill set, I'm not too overly like, this is a must-have Forsaken monster. Definitely get him if you can. Definitely get him to rank 4 if you can, because he's good. He's really, really good. But I don't think he's categorized as OP, because I do recall some players saying like, oh, this is OP, you have to get him to rank 4. I think he's definitely good, but I don't think I think his trait is phenomenal, right? His trait is OP potential. The fact that he can hold the Relics, the Revival, and Amulet is OP potential, but then skill set, nothing too menacing. With the exception of Nisael Army, like I believe that's truly the scariest one. Just the fact that it's literally cleanse from your team, cleanse from the enemy, give your team stamina regen, reduce accuracy and damage output on enemy, and you can use this skill again. So if you turn transfer to him, and then he gets 2 turns, you can cleanse again. So that's, yeah, I'm surprised this monster actually doesn't even have an extra turn skill, but he can res and give an extra turn. So good resurrection monster, right? Like if you're bringing this monster for offense, I think you're gonna have an easy time getting 3 coins. So definitely worth bringing for offense for sure. But that's overall my thoughts on this monster. So I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about this monster overall? What do you think about the trait specifically? Skill set, what do you think? What would you run if you only had this monster unranked? Give me like 2 sets of comments. Say like, hey Armor, if I had this monster unranked, this is what I would run and why. And then let's say you can get this monster to rank 4. What would you run in that case and why? So any thoughts, please let me know in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching this video. I didn't even talk about runes, but again, I think it's pretty straightforward. He's more of a supportive monster. He's a revival monster, so you can capitalize on like 2 team speed and a life. You can do single speed and life. You can do team speed, single life, single speed. So you can kind of just mix it with the support kind of build. Again, he doesn't need any damage runes because he does deal damage in terms of percentage based. So no strength runes, more of the team speed to help your team go first, and that kind of stuff, right? But yeah, guys, with that being said, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think about this monster in the comments below, and best of luck to all of you on your Monster Legends adventures.